Welcome into More Than a Game with Fritz and Pitts. I'm one of your hosts, JD Fritz. Joining me is my other host, Drew Pitzer, and we got a special guest today, Kennedy Award candidate Blake Fisher from Herbert Hoover High School. Blake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm glad that you could join us. We've had a couple other guys on this week, this season, trying to get all you guys that are kind of in that running for the Kennedy or mentioned. And hey, and even if you didn't win the Kennedy, you're definitely one of the top, running backs slash receivers. I don't know where you fall in that category. That's kind of one of my questions that I had. So I guess I'll go ahead and start with that. Where do you kind of see yourself as more of a receiver or a running back?
Uh, More of a running back, but in all reality, it's really just where the team needs me. Like some
Right.
weeks, may need me more as a running back, or maybe more as a receiver. Like an instance of that would be Frankfurt. We couldn't run the ball hardly, so move me out receiver
Mm-hmm.
and make some things happen out there. And then there's been games where I've strictly ran the ball. So I mean, it really just depends on what the team needs.
So yeah, you're pretty much a true definition of a Swiss Army knife, basically. You can do it all, and you do it on special teams as well in the return game. So but getting off, I'll start with kind of the first official question. And so, how did you kind of get into playing football? How did it all start for you? And kind of what age did you realize that you were pretty good at it?
I started playing football at 5 years old in Little League. Um, Started off. I've pretty much always been a running back throughout the years. I think my first year I started as like a fullback. We ran the wishbone. So
Fullback,
Right.
baby.
oh
Oh, I
yeah,
love it.
oh yeah. But
Great.
then after about my second year, and then pretty much throughout the rest of my career, I've always been a running back. And then once I got to middle school and high school, I've made my way to both running back and receiver.
Gotcha. Well, Drew, I'll let you go ahead and take over.
Yeah, again, so you guys are 8-2 this year. You lost Independence, lost to Frankfurt, two really good double A schools. You all ultimately are the 7th seed right now. You have a big game against Winfield, and then obviously Princeton is right around the corner. How do you get your guys motivated to say, hey, man, we can go make a run at this and try to win a state championship?
Well, for this week, it's a big game because it's the next game, as a lot of people say, but it's also our rival. So there won't be really a lot of motivation needed for this week. But next week, I mean, it's really just about doing our job with max effort, one play at a time. That's what we believe in. That's what Coach Fields preaches. And basically, just having that mentality we came in with last year when we went down to Princeton. It's a tough place to play in. It was cold, and on paper, they were probably the better team, but just having that mindset is what I believe got it done. And that's the same mindset that, it could be all me and my fellow seniors, our last game, so we're going to leave it all out there.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, before I give it back to you, JD, you guys really put the whooping on Princeton last year. A lot of people projected to see them in Bridgeport in a state championship game. Obviously, you had other wishes. And, I look at your career stats. I mean, you have, what, 78 or 77 touchdowns, 67 touchdowns, 5,221 combined yards, and basically half and half receiving and rushing. I know you got offers from Marietta and Concord right now, but what is your ultimate dream school, and where do you see you ending up at, and what do you want to play, running back or receiver?
My ultimate dream school would be, as a lot of people in the state, is West Virginia.
Go
Mhm.
blue, baby.
Oh yeah. Um, no, I mean, I haven't really made a decision yet. I think I'm going to wait till after the season to see, what all opportunities I have, and then from there, um, I think I'll probably play running back, um, just because I'm quick, but at the college level, everyone's fast, and a lot of them, in my opinion, are faster than me. And I feel like I'd make a bigger impact in the run game than I would in the pass game.
Understand that, JD?
Yeah, so that kind of takes my question, follows up right with what Drew. So, like, I'm interested to find out, like, what camps did you attend this past summer, and did you work out in those camps? Did they have you working out as a running back or a receiver, or did you do a little bit of both?
Uh, some camps I was strictly running back, and some camps was receiver. Um, but I've been to a bunch of different camps over the years. This year I went to Morehead State, EKU, Marshall.
Nice.
I think a few more, but mostly running back were the drills that I was involved in, and one on ones. Mostly running back, but there's been a few camps where, mainly during the one on one period, I would jump in at receiver and see what I could do.
So, kind of, what was the feedback from some of the coaches that that you were talking to there?
I mean, a lot of them have said the same thing. That I'm a good player and all that. It's just size definitely hurts me when it comes to recruiting. Uh, and they just basically say, just keep doing what I do and don't get discouraged. That's been the main thing that they have said to me. Don't get discouraged. Some teams might offer a kid, in September or whatever, and say that kid commits somewhere else, and then they go back to the drawing board and they're like, oh, there's this Fisher kid. See if he wants to come on. So
Right.
just be patient has been the main thing.
Yeah, that's a good advice and a good attitude to have with that. That's all you can do. Just control, what you can control, and let the cards fall where they may. But Drew, I turn it back over to you, man.
Yeah, again, so I know you're looking to play running back in the college level, but obviously you kind of could be somewhere that they could plug and play. You have a pick
Yeah.
six this year. You also have a punt return for a touchdown. Again, what JD said is Swiss Army knife. Would you be open to playing maybe on the defensive side of the ball? I believe you're 5'9", 190. Is that your measurements?
We can go with that. Sounds better.
What is
No.
your official measurements?
I'd say I'm about 5'9". Before the season started, during when we were lifting and all that, I was probably about 180, 185 range. Right now, since we haven't really lifted and all that, I'm probably down to about 175.
Right.
But so would you be open to playing maybe on the defensive side of the ball? Obviously kind of would be a tweener maybe between the linebacker position. But are you open to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take any opportunity I can get as long as I can play ball at the next level.
For sure. JD, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, so kind of going back to last year, what I got is kind of like a two-part question here. What is the differences between last year's team that y'all made that good title run? Unfortunately, you all lost to Bridgeport in the championship game compared to this team this year. And the second part of that question is your adjustment between having Dane Hatfield as your quarterback, who we know was an all-state quarterback, going into this year. Peyton Grisby's had a great season for a sophomore. Been one of the top quarterbacks in the state.
The main difference between this year and last year's team, I would say probably how close we were as a team last year. Not saying that we weren't close this year,
Right.
but it was just something about last year's team. It was like, it was one big brotherhood. We do anything for each other, and we knew we'd count on each other. Not saying that's not the case this year, but I just feel like that we were a little bit closer last year than we were this year. We've gotten a lot of new guys this year, and just some adjustments as to compared to last year. But I mean, so far, I mean, we've grown as a team throughout the year, which we do every year, and we've gotten closer and closer. I think if we can get to that point that we did last year, I think we can make the same run. And then to answer your second part, the difference between Dane and Peyton. Dane, he wasn't really a vocal leader per se, but
Right.
he kind of led it by like action or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
however you want to word it. You knew you could count on him whenever you needed a big play, and he had that energy. And obviously, he was here all 4 years, and he just knew how the game was meant to be played and the offense and how to command the offense. And Peyton, he's done a great job at that as well. And having his big thing, or at least my concern was for him, was the timing with the new receivers because he's been a capital that first year and then making that transition to us. Just getting the timing right with receivers and getting used to the protection, all that. And he's definitely made a big step from week one to now, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, that's great, man. Great answer, and yeah, I appreciate that, man. Drew, I'll go back to you then.
So these are kind of my little oddball questions. Do you have any like pregame rituals, or do you do something every week? Do you wear Sour Patch Kid socks or something? Every football player has some little quirky ritual. What is yours?
It's kind of started this year, honestly, but every Friday or every game day, like this Saturday, it'll be this Saturday. But every game day, I stop at Speedway in the morning and get a Arizona green tea. That's my pregame ritual.
I see. I see. I used to wear this is odd, and I wish I didn't do this. I used to wear my girdle underneath my pants at school, which is so weird. I don't know
Really?
why I did that, but I used to put that. I'd literally have like my thigh pads in at school, just the
Yeah.
weirdest thing. But kind of follow up on that. Do you have anything like what does your weekly prep look like? Obviously, do you get into film study a lot? Do you try to talk with your teammates outside of practice? What do you do on a week to week basis?
A lot of film, I try and mainly watch, who am I going to guard or who's guarding me whenever I'm a receiver, and then just how their linebackers like read if they read guards well or how they react um, if someone goes in motion and then we take off and run it the other way. Um, and then other than that, just practicing. We'll talk as a team in our group chat and saying, "Here, watch for this certain thing, watch for this." But really, just a lot of film throughout the week.
I like that. JD, back to you.
Yeah. So, like, kind of what, I know you do a lot of working out and stuff. Like, so it's kind of another two-part question. Like, what's one thing that you guys did in the off season, kind of together as a team, to prepare for this year, and for yourself individually? What's one thing that you feel you need to improve on?
This year as a team, during I'd say during the summer, like June, July period, we just do your regular lifting in the field house, and then we come outside afterward and we do some kind of conditioning. Whether it be one day we do bleachers, one day we do gassers. Um, One time we did called a suicide. It was every 25 yards, I think, 25 back, 50. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
God, that sounds
yeah,
hellish.
yeah, it wasn't fun. Then for myself, I would work out. I have a trainer, TR Dues.
Oh, okay.
Work out-
Yep.
I've been working out with him since I was fifth grade, I believe, somewhere around that age, and just trying to help me, be crisp on my cuts. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and the ultimate goal this throughout these past 2 3 years has been trying to get my 40 time down. That's been the main goal
Right.
because getting
Well,
recruiting.
what is your 40?
The fastest I've ran it was a 4.6, I think.
Oh,
Nothing great, not terrible.
No,
Um,
not at all. I mean, you can get down into the mid 4.5s. You'll be all right. I mean, you can definitely do that if you're already in 4.6. They say 4.65, 4.67 range. You hit that 4.5. You could knock a tenth off that for
that's
sure.
been
yeah,
yeah,
for
that's been the
sure.
goal.
Yeah, because TR Dudes, he's good, man. He's got a speed trainer. He ran track. I remember he was a few years behind me in school. And yeah, he was fast himself. Of course, his
Yeah.
son was pretty fast too. He's got a couple sons that I think just graduated high school, and I know he trained them too as well, and they all were pretty fast kids too.
Oh yeah, I've worked out with both of them and played 7-on-7 with the one, and so I've pretty much just been trying to chase them whenever I work out with them.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. Hey, do you have any? I guess this lead me to one other question I had. I was going to ask it a little bit later, but since we were talking about speed, do you run track, or are you going to run track this year or not?
I haven't ran track, and honestly, I kind of regret it. So this year, I'm still on the fence about it, but I think this year I'm going to try it out.
I would say even if you weren't like, because I knew some guys that just ran track for the conditioning and the speed, but didn't really like want to run in meets. They were like, I don't know if I want to run in meets, that type of thing. And the coach said, look, I don't really care. If you want to get faster, show up to practice and you'll get faster. Because those workouts for track are no joke. I did it. My son ran track, and a lot of kids. I mean, you will get faster from running track. I mean, you definitely won't get slower for
Yeah.
sure. So I always encourage if you're any athlete at all, especially a football player, it definitely, if you want to get your 40 down to a 4.5s at least, definitely track would help you for sure.
Well, I'll
But
go
you
ahead
go
and
ahead.
ask. So I'll go ahead and ask you this, Blake. If you could describe yourself in one word and one word only, what would you say? What is the word that describes you best?
It's a good question.
Yeah, put you on the spot right there, brother.
Yeah. One word.
I'd say gritty. That's my personal opinion when I watch some of your film. Is you're very gritty.
Um, only word I can really think that kind of comes to my mind is kind of unique. I mean, like not a lot of people around the state, other than Brad, he's kind of in the same boat I am with how they use him. But I feel like not a lot of people get used the way that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you describe your team, though? What would be your team's identity in one word?
Uh,
Somebody play
it's like,
the na 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 na.
I definitely say talented. We have a lot of talent. But other than that, I would say tough. We've are resilient. We faced a lot of
Resilient.
adversity this year, and we've came through. We've faced it head on. Even though we have two losses, that Independence game, we were down 30-7 at one point. We easily could have just laid down. They run the score up and had a rough night. But
It was
we
only a 2 point game, right? Y'all lost was
yeah,
34-32.
came back and
37-34.
we were up 34-30, and then they ended up coming away with it in the end. But a lot of teams, I feel like, would have just laid down, being down 23 in
Right.
the first quarter.
Yeah, resilient for sure. JD.
Yeah, so get on a more personal level here. Who's been somebody or more than one person, somebody that you kind of looked up to that's been kind of an inspiration to you in your life, football or non-football, on or off the field?
I got a few. I would say on the field would be my late stepdad, Chuck Shively. He was kind of the whole reason I started playing football,
Right.
especially at 5 years old, and he convinced me to try it out because he coached at Sissonville High whenever I was growing up, and he coached me in Little League, and that was pretty much the whole reason I started playing football and just how I grew to love the game. And then another person I would say is definitely Coach Fields, and just he's been a leader since I've gotten here, and he's done a lot for me, especially in practice. He holds me to a high standard because he knows my goals, and it's not going to get any easier at all at that next level. So he tries to hold me to a high standard, especially in practice.
Is Coach Fields a running back coach? What's he coach? What position does he coach?
He kind of walks around practice and just tries to just
Interject,
find
huh?
somewhere to improve on. He spends a lot of time with the O line because that's where he played in high school. But really, he coaches just about everyone.
Yeah, because Coach Myers is the head coach, correct?
No,
He's
Coach
not there.
Meyer. No, Coach Meyer. Uh, he was our defensive coordinator my sophomore year, which was my first
Gotcha.
year at Hoover, and then he ended up retiring after that year. And but no, Coach Fields has been head coach here for 6 years. I think this will be the sixth
Have it.
year.
Okay. Okay. So kind of what is it? So I guess he's been kind of has he been kind of more of a mentor to you and a lot of the other kids on the team?
Yeah, I mean, he's a mentor to everyone, but me and I'm sure y'all have heard Mighty Lopez.
Hmm.
He's one of our linemen, and we told him when we got here, our goals and why we came here, and he's held us to that standard, and um, that's just the way that he holds us, and uh, we try not to take anything personally. There's some days where we'll be mad at him or whatever, but you just gotta have a short term memory and not really focus on how he's saying it, just what he's saying.
Gotcha. Drew?
Yeah, I only got a couple more questions for you, brother man. Obviously you look at the numbers; they're staggering. It's been just very consistent along the board. From your freshman to your senior year, and you say your team is just known for resiliency. But off the field, who are you? Obviously everybody knows you for the football player, running back, receiver kind of combo, a Kennedy Award candidate. But who are you when you take off the pads? What's kind of your identity?
I mean, off the field, I'm just like everyone else, just a regular guy, and I like to hang out with my buddies a lot. I like to golf whenever the weather's right.
Oh man,
Uh, Not very good at it, but I have a good time doing it. Other than that, just hanging around the house and uh, just hanging out with my friends a lot. That's about what I do.
you play Fortnite?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I say yeah, big. How many crowns you got, brother?
I don't know. I haven't
Season
played
just
it in a
reset.
while. I know I've been meaning to start playing it again, but it's been a minute.
JD, we're talking in French to you, brother, man. But I'll pass it back to
I
you.
know I'm not a gamer. My son is, and he could probably come out here and get into this conversation, but it's not one that I can
Yeah.
follow up to follow with you guys too much. I never got into all that, but I guess I'm showing my age, huh?
Hey, it's all good, brother, man.
Um, so yeah, I got just a few other questions for you. So what, just kind of talking about this season, how well you guys have done. What would it mean for you guys to kind of, get back to that championship game again this year?
It mean a lot, especially to this community. Our volleyball team, they just won the state championship,
Nice.
and the community's all together. And for us to make it to the state championship, it'd be great. We had a great turnout last year, and basically our goal. I mean, we keep knocking on the door, like Coach Fields was saying today. And I mean, the door's bound to open eventually since we've been
Right.
there
Just keep on
past two
knocking.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of another one that's kind of goes along with that. Kind of how did it make you feel when you found out that you became the all time leader in receiving yards and touchdowns at Hoover?
It honestly came as a surprise to me. I really wasn't expecting it at all because I mean, there's been some great receivers over here from the past few years.
Hmm.
Obviously, Dane's brother, Devin Hatfield.
Yeah,
Uh,
remember him.
even though he was only here for 2 years, I think. Still, I mean, even though I hold the record technically, I'll say he's probably the best receiver to come through this program.
Right. Well, that's good. Drew, you got anything else? I got a couple more, but I just want to hand it to you if you got.
Yeah, my last question for you is, say you guys don't win a state championship this year, what would determine your season to be a success if for some reason you guys don't end up winning it all?
Just reach our potential. Coach Fields said this before, and one of the worst things that people can say about you, and I agree with him in this, is, oh man, he had a lot of potential. That team had a lot of potential. Just reaching our potential as a team. Like last year, I feel like we exceeded our potential. Um, this year, I think our potential has been 4 quarters away from the state championship.
I agree. Back to you, JD. That was the last one I had for him.
Yeah, I just got like two more. So what are your plans? Even if football didn't work out, your plans are to go to college, and if you are planning on going to college, what is it you plan on studying? What do you want to become? Later in life after football's over for Blake Fisher.
I'm still trying to figure it out whether I want to go to college, and the main thing is figuring out what I want to go to college for and what to
Right.
study. And then if I don't go that route, I thought about going to like a trade school or something like
Yeah.
that around the area.
For
Well,
sure.
that's good. And the last thing I've got for you, and maybe it's still unwritten, but I'll let you answer that. What's been your best memory playing at Herbert Hoover for yourself so far?
My best memory would probably be beating Princeton last year in the semifinals to go to the state championship.
I knew he was going to say that.
Yeah. It was pretty special. I mean, going into that game, a lot of people
Nobody
saying
gave
that
y'all a
we,
shot, by the way. I,
yeah,
I thought y'all were going to lose by 30. I'm just being
yeah.
honest. I didn't think y'all had a
I
shot, but
mean,
wow, I was wrong.
I don't blame you. I mean, you look on paper, have Daniel Jennings going to Penn State, who's up there right now, and then obviously Brad. He's been a stud the past few years. Chance, same boat. And on paper, they were the better team, and they should have won that game. But just kind of overcoming all that adversity and all the outside noise, and just sticking together as a locker room, and then going out there and getting it done. I mean, it was just truly special.
Yeah, it's resilience,
Yeah.
JD.
Well, if we ask you this question 3 or 4 weeks from now, you'll probably say your best memory is winning the state championship if you guys get the opportunity to get there. And so with that said, man, we really appreciate you coming on, Blake, and
Thank you, brother.
give us a little bit of your time, man, here on more than a game. And we wish you the best of luck in the playoffs, man. And we'll be rooting for you up here in the Eastern Panhandle, man.
Yeah, good luck,
Absolutely.
Blake.
Thank y'all for having me on.
Yep, again,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, Blake Fisher from Herbert Hoover High School. Really appreciate you, senior running back slash receiver. Has had a great season, definitely a Kennedy Award candidate. And again, we just want to wish you the best of luck and good luck against Winfield on Friday, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And welcome back to More Than a Game with Fritz and Pitts. JD Fritz joined again by Drew Pitzer. And we want to again thank Blake Fisher, senior running back, receiver for Herbert Hoover High School, also a Kennedy Award candidate. Appreciate you, Blake, for joining us, giving us a little bit of your time, just talking football, talking life. It was a really great interview, Drew. What'd you think?
I mean, I think the guy's extremely personable, and if football doesn't end up working out for him, I think whatever he decides to do with his professional career, he's got it all ahead of him. Great head on his shoulders. Like
Yep.
you said, he says he's very unique, resilient, tough. You can just see all those qualities kind of radiating from him. So just really appreciate him joining us today. I mean, that's probably three of the top five candidates for Kennedy that we've had on our pod, JD.
Yeah, we're racking them up. We got a few more. Hopefully, we can get on in the next couple weeks before the end of the season, man. And I'm excited. But with that said, now guys, we're gonna kind of go over our round one of the playoffs, kind of our picks, who we got, and I'll go ahead and let Drew start it off, man. Round one, Morgantown versus Buchanan Upshur. Drew, who do you got and why?
Yeah, I got Morgantown. I had them winning about 63-7. I just think that Morgantown has too much offensively, been playing extremely well over the last 3 weeks since, losing to Martinsburg back at the beginning of the month. They're hitting their stride right now. Buchanan Upshur really is kind of a triple A, even a double A type school to me in terms of talent, facilities. So I just think Morgantown's just too much for them. 63-7, JD.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I just think Morgantown's been hitting their stride. They're doing the last. Maddox Twig looks like he's back to form, pretty healthy again after that foot injury he had. Midway or through the season or so, and I'm excited because I think it's going to be. It could very well be Morgantown and Martinsburg, to be honest with you, and I'm excited to see that rematch if it happens because I think. That I don't think Morgantown, like I said, was totally healthy running back. Isaiah Thompson wasn't completely healthy in that game either.
Zay Lockett was
But
hurt too.
anyway, yeah, I'd love to see that rematch in the championship game. I think it's going to be a different game this time. Not saying Morgantown's going to win. We're not going to give that prediction yet, but I definitely think that would be a better game. And with that said, I got Morgantown winning 49-0. Drew.
Yeah, again, and now the next one is going to be the 2 versus 15. That's Huntington hosting Hedgesville, JD. Who do you got and why?
Again, we did our picks on the breakdown already, but we're doing them again here on More Than a Game. Huntington, definitely one of the top teams. You really can't go against them. Hedgesville's kind of struggled all year. Did manage to pull out a couple wins later in the season, but as we talked before, Chaz Milburn's out for them. I don't know if it's going to be through the duration of the playoffs, but at least for this first round game, and I don't see that helping Hedgesville at all against
No.
arguably the best team in the state. I got Huntington winning 52-0. Drew, how do you guys?
Yeah, I got Huntington winning 49-7. Hedgesville again won two out of their final three games. Showed a lot of resilience after coming off a 19-game losing streak. So credit to them. But Huntington, they beat Martinsburg, the lone loss in state for Martinsburg this year, 22-20, and they're also clicking. I just think that top three of Morgantown, Huntington, and Martinsburg are just in their own class of their own right now. But I do have Hedgesville putting up a score. I have Huntington winning 49-7, JD. But we'll go ahead
Yeah.
and move to the 3 versus 14 matchup now, and that's going to be Martinsburg hosting Parkersburg South. JD, who do you got and why?
Again, these first few games are really going to be kind of lopsided. I don't see the top seeds losing or even, having any problems at all. I've got
Right.
Martinsburg again. Again, they've looked better and better every single week that they've played, and they're definitely well prepared to make another playoff state championship run here in the playoffs. I got Martinsburg winning 56-7. Drew.
Yeah, and I haven't won in 56-13. Parkersburg South's had some flashes where they played extremely well this year, but they're just so undermanned and outmatched. Martinsburg's bigger than them, faster than them, stronger than them. They have a better coach than them. Unfortunately, it's just all the cards are in Martinsburg's deck. I just think there'll be too much. JD again. I have that being a 56-13 game, but now. We'll move forward to the Jefferson hosting Washington, a rematch of last week, except this time it's going to be at Jefferson, the 4 versus 13 matchup. JD, who do you got and why?
Yeah, last week we called that game, Drew, and it wasn't a fun game to call. I guess if you're a Jefferson fan, it was a fun game to watch. But as far as competitiveness, not so much. And I don't see a lot changing here unless Washington, really does a lot in 1 week's time. I don't know how much you can change in 1 week. They're down a few key players. They had to make some adjustments. They got another, quarterback started last week, and I think. He'll probably be under center again this week. So, just a lot of struggles with Washington the last few weeks of the season. Hadn't been able to put up a score for 4 weeks. So that offense is really struggling, and I don't see that changing a whole lot. I think Jefferson's going to come out firing, and they're going to try to put up as many points as they can, at least in the first half. Probably be a running clock again in the second half. I got Jefferson winning 54-0.
Yeah, and I do think Washington finally gets on the board for the first time since the end of September. I think they end up winning, or Jefferson ends up winning like 54-7, maybe even 54-13. I think
Right.
Washington will find some sort of success and get into the end zone. But again, Jefferson, Washington, that cross county rivalry, they really don't like each other. I mean, they were talking the whole game, and Washington was talking right with them, even though they were down a lot. I just don't think Washington has the talent yet. Still a really underclassmen fit team. They didn't get really much better since they played Southern Maryland, so I just don't think they have a lot of hope. But we'll move forward to a team that Jefferson upset a couple weeks ago and now overtook them in the seedings. This is the 5 versus 12 matchup. It's going to be GW hosting Oak Hill. JD, who do you got and why?
Yeah, I mean, George Washington again. They're one of the top teams. I mean, they're a fifth seed for a reason. And had they probably not lost to Jefferson, they'd probably be even higher. That probably, I think that game is what kind of sent them down a little bit. But they're still one of the top seeds. Jefferson's one ahead of them. But and we could see that 4 or 5 matchup again in a couple weeks, is which we both predict that that's going to happen. So with that said, I got GW winning this one, but I do have I do have Oak Hill putting up a couple scores. I see it 42-13, Drew.
Yeah, again, I have it actually 35-17. I think Oak Hill will battle and compete, late into the third quarter, but GW just has too much, talent offensively. They're going to put up a lot of
Right.
points. Defensively, they're stud too. Their front fours, they're huge. They win at the line of scrimmage quite often. And their secondary is pretty good as well. So I just think it's just going to be too much for Oak Hill to be able to handle. And I have GW moving on again and having that matchup, Jefferson versus GW again next week.
Yeah.
But we'll go. Yeah, we'll go ahead and move
No, I
forward.
was just gonna mention real quick before we moved on. Both they're starting 2 stars, Jaden Black, the freshman, who's had really good numbers. I'll just throw them out there for you. Jaden Black's got over 1,300 yards rushing, 19 touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns, for a total of 22 rushing, or 22 total touchdowns. So he's done great as a freshman for that team. So he's back healthy. And I know we're jumping the gun a little bit because we got to get week round 1, but we're pretty confident that that's going to be the matchup. Tony Allen coming back healthy. He went out early in the third quarter of that game. So both teams didn't have their best player for the better part of 3 quarters in that game. So with those 2 guys coming back healthy, it's going to be a very interesting matchup to watch, and we're going to be calling that game if it does happen, and it should be a good one, Drew. And sorry to cut you off there, but go ahead and move forward to the next matchup.
Yeah, again, we're really excited. I think that Jefferson GW game would be one for the books. Tony Allen finally healthy, Black finally healthy too. Both those guys getting hurt in that game was just unfortunate. It still was one of the best games I've seen at all season. Was probably that GW hosting
Yeah,
Jefferson game. But again, I digress, and we now go into the 6-11 matchup, and that's going to be Wheeling Park hosting Woodrow Wilson. It's a very interesting matchup for me, JD. But who do you
it
got?
is. Yeah, this is kind of where we start to it gets a little stickier. You know what I mean? The 6-11 matchup, although it seems lopsided, it's not necessarily. They're not always. This is where you could start seeing some upsets. However, I don't see one, unfortunately, for Woodrow Wilson. Even though they've made a good run so far, the last few games of the season. I see Wheeling Park with Brennan Wack coming back healthy. That offense puts up a lot of numbers. If and we talked about it on the breakdown. If Wack's healthy and ready to go, we see him rushing for over 200 yards and probably 3, maybe even 4 touchdowns, possibly, as he was averaging earlier in the season. So with that, I got Wheeling Park winning 34-14.
Yeah, see, I have them winning 35-21. I think Woodrow battle. I mean, obviously they had a really tough contest against GW last week. George Washington really just beat them from start
Yeah.
to finish. But I think they'll be able to compete a little bit more. But Brennan Wack finally healthy now, and averaging upwards to almost 200 yards a game even after his injury. I just think it'll be too much, and that'll set up another primetime showdown with Martinsburg hosting Wheeling Park the following week. But again, still got to get there. But I think there's going to be a lot of good game 2 matchups for the second round.
Hmm.
But for the 7-10 matchup, again, this is my upset of the week. University is
Yeah.
hosting Parkersburg. JD, who do you got though, and why?
Well, I know what you're going to say already because we've talked about it before. I don't see an upset the way you do. I mean, University's been playing really good football. I mean, like we had mentioned earlier with Harrison Helbig, he's been one of the top quarterbacks all year, throwing for over 2,600 yards, 28 touchdowns.
Hey,
You know, his
George.
his his receiver Hayden George has been phenomenal. I think in terms of receptions, he leads. He's got 79 catches. He's over the 1,000 yard marker and almost, double digit touchdowns. So he's been one of the top receivers in the state. So they've got a really powerful offense. And, I think that's going to continue this week against Parkersburg. And I've got them winning, University winning 31-7.
Again, Hayden George, Helbig have been phenomenal. The connection has been great all
Yep.
year. But I think that Morgantown matchup last week might have really broke them mentally. I mean, there was if you go back and watch that second half, they just kind of stopped fighting. They didn't really, show that edge. And maybe that was just like saying, hey, let's get to the playoffs. That's where the real season matters. But I think there is going to be one upset this week. Somebody's going to win that we did not expect between either Woodrow, Parkersburg, or Musselman. But my best bet is going to be Parkersburg. I think they're going to come in there and they're going to win 31-28 on a last second field goal. Again, talent wise, University is much more talented. They've been putting up a bunch of
Mhm.
points a game. But I think University might be looking by these guys maybe for that Huntington matchup, and I think Parkersburg's going to spoil that. Again, 31-28. That's my upset pick of the week. But now we move to the final matchup of the first round, and it involves the 8 seed Spring Mills, defending state runner-up, hosting Musselman, a really good game, that we both predict is going to happen. But JD, who do you got and why?
Yeah, and like we said earlier, this is the toughest game to kind of predict. These 8 and 9 matchups. Yeah, it's 8 versus 9, but sometimes it's not always. The two teams that are 8 and 9. You can look at them and think, oh, this isn't going to be a game. But Musselman's a very much improved team, and then this could be a scary matchup for Spring Mills. Spring Mills is at home, so that's going to be a big advantage for Spring Mills. They're coming off a big win last week, and I see Spring Mills winning this game by a couple touchdowns. But this is my closest matchup of the first round, and but I've got Spring Mills winning, Drew, 27-13. I think you've probably got it a little bit closer, and I'm really
Just a little bit.
surprised that you don't have the upset in this one. I'm kind of disappointed in you though, Drew.
Yeah, no, I'm probably going to get put on a stake for this. And hey, listen again, Coach Thomas. We're going to talk about Coach of the Year, but that's my
Mhm.
Coach of the Year. I think he's really done a great job in the last 20 months, overcoming a lot of the adversity that they've had. And I would not be surprised to see them if they somehow came out and won this game. But Musselman hasn't scored against Spring Mills in their last 3 matchups against them. It's been really
Right.
tough waters. And especially if Musselman isn't able to throw the football vertically down the field, I think it's going to be a struggle for them because Spring Mills just stacked 9-10 in the box last time they played and had a safety, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Right.
So I think Musselman will really have to dig into their bag of tricks to make this competitive. But I have Spring Mills winning. I think it's going to be a 21-13 type game. I think it'll be about a one score, but I just think they're too talented. Coach Buddy Hessen is my favorite defensive coordinator in the whole state. I love
Yeah.
his concepts and his schemes. I just think Spring Mills starting to play a little bit better too. They've had 2 consecutive blowouts, and hopefully they can get another matchup with Morgantown, see if they might be able to pull upset against them.
Yeah, I agree. And once we get into the second round next week, that's when these picks start to get a little bit harder, man. Like, this first round hasn't been too bad. I know you wanted to pick an upset. I didn't have any upsets, unfortunately. I could have probably went with one here and there, but I wanted to go with what I thought was more realistic. But so that's all we got for the picks for this week. But we'll move forward and we'll do Coach of the Year. And Drew, I'll start with you and let you go first. Who do you got for Coach of the Year?
Yeah, again, I want to give a shout out to Coach Craig Hunter. I mean, he had a phenomenal season to come back from being, 0-4 to turn your team around and win 6 in a row, go 6-4. I mean, that just speaks volumes about your coaching. I also think his coaching staff with Coach Philip Keller, they have a multitude of guys that really, affect the fundamentals and the winning of that program, kept them stable. But again, for me to go from 1 win to 4 wins, again, maybe I'm biased because this is my alma mater, but I have Coach Brian Thomas. I just think he's done a great job with that turnaround. A lot that's been on his shoulders. He lost over 22 guys in the transfer portal last year. Still lost a couple guys this year too, but still just rebounded. Had a lot of close games. Almost beat Martinsburg. Took them, to the end of the game, about midway through the fourth quarter, and they started to just run out of gas. But again, Coach Craig Hunter, he won the EPAC Coach of the Year, but my Coach of the Year is Coach Brian Thomas. But you can go ahead and give me your Coach of the Year, JD.
Well, I'm a Jefferson guy. So, It's going to be kind of more of an obvious pick for me. I'm backing Coach Hunter as well. I just think he's done a lot with this team over the last 6 weeks. They always seem to get off to a slow start. That's the only thing that I would
Yeah,
say, Coach Hunter, if I had to speak to him directly, is you guys got to figure out some way to get off to a faster start. I think the quarterback situation may have played a little bit of part in that, trying to figure out who was going to settle into that spot. And once they found, Rockwell was going to be the guy, and they haven't lost since, aside from his first start, which was against Martinsburg. But I kind of give him a pass on that one, obviously against, probably to argue the best team in the state. But once they, made that transition, I think all the other pieces fell into place. They found that they've got some other playmakers that they probably didn't normally
yeah,
know they had. And we've talked about those guys a lot throughout the season on the podcast. And I think that's a great thing, because with Tony Allen coming back healthy, you've got now you just don't have to, you don't necessarily have to rely on Tony. You've got a lot of pieces around Tony to work with. And I think that Jefferson could potentially go pretty far in this playoff. I think they can finally reach that third round, and you might be looking at a Jefferson Morgantown matchup. Uh,
yeah.
so, um, yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Now, again, that's actually what I predict. I believe it's going to be a Morgantown hosting Jefferson matchup. And again, that was a
Right.
really good game for 3 quarters. At Jefferson High School early in the season. And that was before they made the change to the Rockwell at quarterback. Defensively, Jefferson really held Morgantown solid until they just started really breaking them down with the running game. But again, I think that's going to be a huge matchup if that can end up being the case.
Yeah. And with that said, so if it wasn't already obvious, so my coach of the year goes to Craig Hunter. Vernon Craig Hunter. I'll throw his first name out there just to give him a hard time. But yeah, so moving forward now, Drew, we got player of the year. This is one we've talked about many times. There's definitely a few top candidates, but who do you got for your player of the year this year?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty consistent with both of us. It's Jackson Rockwell. I mean to take over a team that was 0-3, and then you go basically 6-1 in your 7 starts at quarterback. And when you're really a wide receiver, 17 rushing or passing touchdowns, 14 rushing touchdowns, and 3 receiving touchdowns. He's also Swiss Army knife, very similar to Blake Fisher. I'm just really
Yep.
impressed with his performance. Over the last 5 or 6 games, I mean, I've said it on the cast multiple times. He reminds me of Johnny Manziel in 2012, especially when they played Alabama and he upset them. That's just every time I see Jackson Rockwell running the football and creating, playing backyard style, I just think he's my player of the year. But again, Boston Todd, he comes in at number 2. He's not too far behind, and I have Brian Dick there as well. I think those 2 guys are right. And anybody said one of those 3 to be the player of the year, I wouldn't argue with them. But again, my personal pick, Jackson Rockwell. And JD, I think you feel kind of the same.
Yeah, I mean, Rockwell's done a lot for this team, and I think he's one of the biggest reasons why this team's season has turned around. Even though Coach Hunter gets the credit for Coach of the Year, Jackson Rockwell has done a lot. To help this team win. He's basically put the team on his back in numerous games. We saw the GW game, the Loudoun County game, John Champ game, Musselman game. I mean, you could just go on, and he's done it all. And like you said, he's done it not only at the quarterback position, at the receiver position. He's played well on defense as also. So I mean, it's hard to go against Jackson Rockwell. He's done a lot in a short amount of time compared to maybe some of the other guys that have played a full season at their respective positions. So for Jackson Rockwell to do what he's done this season in more or less 5 or 6 games has been remarkable. And so my choice for player of the year is Jackson Rockwell.
Again, that's definitely, I think, coach of the year and player of the year. And I say Brian Thomas, but it's clearly, I think, Craig Hunter, just with his overall turnaround
Right.
that they had. So I think, we got a relatively consensus opinion on that. But, we'll go ahead and move to our last segment of the pod today, and that is going to be our
Yeah.
Kennedy Award. And today we're shortening the list to just 3 since we're getting closer to the end of the season. And I think there's been 3 guys that really separated themselves. But JD, I'll go ahead and let you go with your list first. Who's your top 3 and why?
Well, I think, both of our top ones hasn't changed for several weeks, almost nearly the whole season, but it's Brad Maltzer. We had him on the pod a couple weeks ago, and he's just been phenomenal. He's, pretty much Mr. Everything to that Princeton Tigers team, receiving, rushing, returning. I mean, he's got 36 total touchdowns and he's scored in every possible way. Receiving, he's got 9 touchdowns. Rushing, he's got 17 touchdowns. He's got, I think, 2 or 3 pick sixes, a kickoff return for a TD, 4 punt
Yeah.
returns for a TD, 1 passing touchdown. He
I
had
was gonna
just
say
he had that just last
last
week.
week.
50-yard bomb. We didn't even know he had an arm like that. But he says he wasn't very good at quarterback. Well, I beg to differ after seeing that pass that he had last week. So shout out to you, Brad, if you're watching this. Heck of a season, man. One of the best seasons we've seen in a while. And so yeah, that's my number one guy. Obviously, coming in at my number two, it's Maddox. He jumped over
Yeah.
Gavin. Gavin, they didn't play last week, so he didn't put up any more numbers. But Maddox continues. I think he was responsible for 6 touchdowns, 5 or 6 touchdowns last week again. So he's got over 1,500 yards passing, 17 TDs, almost 700 yards rushing, and 8 TDs. 2,200 yards total with 26 TDs. I mean, he's pretty much doing it all again. Only thing he hasn't done, I think he's got a pick six for a touchdown as well. Only thing he hasn't done
He has
is
two pick sixes.
does he has 2 pick sixes?
He has
The
two
only
pick
thing I
sixes.
haven't
Yep.
seen him do is catch passes, which I'm sure he'd be really good at that too, given the opportunity. So again, he's one of the best overall athletes in the state. Only a sophomore, so we've got a couple more years to talk about Maddox Twig. But he's in my number 2 spot, and my number 3 guy is Gavin Williams from Bridgeport. Just a phenomenal running back. Over 1,700 yards, 24 TDs on the ground. He's thrown for a couple TD passes for a total of 29 touchdowns on the season. So again, that's my top 3: Brad, Maddox, and Gavin. And Drew, I'll let you have it. Who's your top 3 guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same top three, but I kind of have it a little bit different order. I had Brad, obviously, I think far and away, just the best player in the state. He's really solidified himself as a Kennedy Award winner candidate right now, the head candidate for me. But then, I had Gavin Williams at number 2. I just feel like his overall impact for Bridgeport, like you said, I think he has 4 passing touchdowns and 24 rushing. So, that to have
Okay.
that kind of aspect, especially in their system, which is very similar to the Muslim system. If anybody's got to Washington place, that they've really perfected it. I think they would be a heck of an out if they were in quad A. But again, I just think Gavin Williams he's played extremely well. I just think Malser just has a little bit too much, room ahead of him now to really catch up. And then I had Maddox Twig right there again, just a sophomore. We got to have him on. He was our first guest on this pod. Tremendous player, tremendous person. I think he's really turned that Morgantown football culture around, because for the last about 10 years or so, they have not been a consistent threat. But now, I mean, Morgantown's really going to be somebody you have to play with. Reason why they're number 1 team in Quad A. So that is my top 3. My honorable mentions, I have to throw in some EPAC guys. You got to have Jackson Rockwell, and I have Boston Todd in there too.
Right.
So to round out that top 5, and then I have Max Simpson in there still too. Almost 3,000
Oh
yards.
yeah.
Tremendous. Yeah. So that's really my
Well, I
top
want to.
3 and some honorable mentions.
Yeah, I'll throw a couple honorable mentions. I mean, I've got a top 10 list now because some of these guys coming out of woodworks. I sent you that screenshot of
Yeah,
Peyton
numbers.
Grigsby from Herbert Hoover. My God, he's almost
Yeah.
got 2,800 yards passing and 30 TDs. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns, 34 total. I mean, he might be the top guy in terms of numbers at quarterback.
Right.
Now he might not get the credit, and be talked about as much in the Kennedy Award, but he definitely could be in the running for the top quarterback spot. The award for being the top quarterback this year. So I have to wait and see. Chance Barker again from Princeton is up there. Harrison Helbig, we mentioned him too, for University. Boston Todd and Max Simpson, I got those guys as well. Blake Fisher, and Jaden
Yeah,
Black.
got
So
Blake.
those are 10 guys. They're all, once you get out of our top 3, some of those guys can you can just, throw them in a hat and draw a name, and they're all well deserving of being mentioned. But as these playoffs move forward, I think it's going to be interesting. Some of those guys that are playing on teams that drop off and lose, and some of the guys that continue to move forward and continue to put up stats. Those are the guys that'll probably still be mentioned a little bit as the playoffs move forward. So we'll just keep an eye, and we'll keep doing our top 3 with some honorable mentions over these next few weeks leading up to the championship game, Drew. And it should be a lot of fun to see who filters out there.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't believe this is our 12th episode now, JD. We want to give a shout out to Blake
Yeah,
Fisher
man.
for joining us today from Herbert
Yep.
Hoover. So now we've had Maddox Twig, Brad Mosser, and Blake Fisher. So again, three of the top, I'd have to say at least 6 or 7 in the Kennedy Award race right now. So we really appreciate all three of those guys joining us. We're going to try to get some more guys on with us next week. We never want to guarantee that though, just because schedules sometimes just don't overlap. But again,
Mhm.
this was a tremendous experience. I really love this pod, JD. Just gets better every time we get on here, my
Yeah,
man.
man.
But I'll
Yeah,
go
I
ahead and
know.
you can
This
go
one
ahead and
was a
wrap us
long
up.
one.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
50
Well, that's
minutes.
going to do
Wow.
it, guys, that's going to do it for episode 12 here, More Than a Game with Fritz and Pitts, man. I'd like to thank, again, Blake Fisher for joining us and, Drew, as always. And we'll see you guys next week. Unfortunately, we won't be calling a game this week, guys. So we got a little bit of a bye week for us here on Home Team Sports, our dream team broadcast crew. So we'll kind of decompress a little bit and relax and actually get to enjoy watching some
Yeah.
high school football for once, Drew.
Yeah, I'll be at the Spring Mills Musselman game. If anybody wants to come holler at me, pick my brain. I would always love to talk some football, man. So again, JD Fritz, Drew Pitzer, More in the Game with Fritz and Pitts. Shout out Blake Fisher
Yeah,
for joining us today. Make sure you guys like, love, share, subscribe, all of our stuff. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
we're out.